Hey, Tally, where are you? You're really late.
Oh, hi, Evie. Yeah, I know. I'm really sorry. I'm still just finishing up in 8.3.
What? How? You just popped on to do your dailies hours ago. You were supposed to be in Stormwind for the meeting with Rathian.
Yeah, I know, and I'm almost done, I promise. I just need to get my 3 rares in Vale of Eternal Blossoms, and then I'm straight there, I promise.
Well, how many do you have to go?
Well, 3, but I'll be there before you know it. Gotta be around here somewhere. Hello?
Tally, where are you? You're missing the Shadowlands launch party. They used all your ideas and it's the best expansion ever.
Oh, wow, I can't wait. I've just got 2 more rares to kill and then I'll be right there.
Okay, well, you kind of said that a year ago. Are you sure you can't just skip that quest?
Don't be silly, Evitel. It's only 2 more rares. It's not like it's gonna take... Hello?
Hi, Tally. I was just wondering if you wanted to talk to our daughter on her 18th birthday since you've never actually met her.
Oh, hi, Princess. I'm sorry, I'm still doing this daily, but the good news is that I only have 1 more rare to kill, and we can finally go on that fishing trip that I promised you.
Daddy?
Hello!
Hi, Taliesin. It's Josh. Look, it's 2045 and you are the only person on Earth who still has a WoW subscription, and we'd really like to turn the servers off right now.
Okay, just give me another day, okay, Law? I thought I saw one last week, but it was just a faceless one, which is good actually, because now I only have 4 more faceless ones to kill for that daily.
Kill it.
Knowledge is power.
Hello Internet, Taliesin here, and welcome to another episode of the Weekly Reset, Taliesin and Evitel's Wondrous Wisdom Show. In a week that saw patch 8.3 Visions of N'zoth finally hit the live servers and be here to play for reals. And yes, when I say finally, I mean it has taken a long old time to get here. 5 months longer than 7.3 in Legion, but I promised I wouldn't go on about that, so. Although, when I say finally, some would argue that maybe it's not entirely here yet. Which seems like as good a time as any to address the title of this video. A purposely very provocative question, I think you'll all agree. And whether you would answer yes to that question, or whether you think it's a stupid question to even ask, I would feel it would be naive to pretend that plenty in the community haven't been asking that question this week. But why? Well, I don't know. Let's find out. Because it is patch week, people. We're going to talk about Visions of N'zoth, how it went down, how it is still going down, and how it will continue to go down in the coming week with the start of Season 4, which is when this shit gets really serious, because there is a Mythic Plus season and raid ending cinematic going down, fam, and that's the kind of thing that makes me very excited. And there is a crazy amount to get through as well, which is why it gives me great pleasure to reintroduce today an old friend to help us navigate the goings-on in Visions of N'zoth. An old friend that we haven't seen since people were asking if 7.35 was the worst WoW patch ever. But anyway, please welcome the 8.3 Wheel of News, which will absolutely randomly choose which topic we discuss today on a spin-by-spin basis, because as we all know, the most fitting way to talk about World of Warcraft is to add an element of RNG. So, without further ado, let's spin the 8.3 Wheel of News and see where it lands. Oh, that's handy. The very first topic it lands on is also the first that I wanted to talk about, chronologically. Handy. Yes, as excitement for the launch of the new patch built, it became apparent that many of us were going to have to wait a little bit longer than we expected to get our hands on the voidy, tentacly goodness within. The initial maintenance on NA realms on Tuesday to implement the patch was the best part of 5 hours. And we're used to that anyway though, because NA realms are like the second PTR, aren't they? Blizz spend ages getting it right there so that EU maintenance can be nice and quick. And no, actually a blue soon found its way into the wild to let the hungering EU masses know that in fact we would be subject to a 7-hour delay, on top of the 1-day delay we have for being 1 day behind NA realms in the first place, in order to address an unexpected issue with the Visions of N'zoth content update. An unexpected issue? That sounds weird. Wonder what it could be. Well, I'm sure it's nothing they can't handle, and hey, it's a major patch. There's plenty of new stuff to be slotted carefully into place. We get it. It takes a while. That's obvious, and nowhere was that more appreciated than on the forums, where everyone remembered that back in the good old days, it wasn't unusual for realms to be down for days at a time while a patch was implemented, and everyone chuckled at that innocent sepia-tinged memory and agreed how lucky we are today to have the infinitely more efficient mechanisms in place that are capable of, no, it was a shit show, obviously. Unexpected issue, and you think nobody else has those? Always delays. They forgot to create the content. So you are doing 8 hours briake, and when WOD was coming, you cannot put off servers for 2 hours, and you are doing this in middle of day? And the maintenance did not stop there, with realms coming down and restarting regularly throughout the week, but especially towards the weekend and on Saturday, as Blizzard took the game completely offline to iron out issues they were having, causing players to disconnect in the middle of horrific visions and subsequently lose horrific visions, meaning they couldn't upgrade their legendary cloak, or getting stuck in a lesser visions loading screen for so long that they were timed out of the instance. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, but Taliesin, what could possibly have been going on in the game to make there be so much that needed fixing? Well, it's not for me to decide to tell you or not, fam. It's up to the 8.3 Wheel of News. So how about we give it another spin and see where it lands? Oh yeah, it's because of the bugs.
So look, you've played this game before, you know the score by now. It used to be the case that the great mantra repeated by players on any given patch day was, don't play on patch day. WoW has a rich and varied history of patches arriving with all the subtlety and nuance of a Michael-based supercut and completely dicking up everything around them. But in recent years, we've come to expect a bit better from our updates. Legion and BFA both had launches and updates that were comparatively silky smooth, so maybe we just got a bit spoiled somewhere along the way. But when Visions of N'zoth rolled out, it came with a whole bunch of, in some cases, crippling bugs, which had an immediate impact, from players not being able to complete the Mechagnome unlock quests, or Goblin Heritage Armor quests, to quest items or mobs not spawning, loot not appearing in the chests at the end of Horrific Visions, that weird bug that meant characters said Uldum instead of Uldum, like we all know it's supposed to be pronounced, hyenas not dropping pelts, so I couldn't complete the damn pelt quest, and seriously, do you have any idea how long I was working on that quest for, Blizz? What's that? The pelts dropped from hunters, not hyenas. Yeah, I knew that. And then there was the bug that meant the gift of N'zoth didn't appear on characters outside of BFA zones, which meant that the first time Tally went to Stormwind to see Anduin, he had a mild panic attack thinking that he'd been cleansed somehow, and was unable to show his dedication to our tentacly overlord for his just rewards. There was the constantly respawning chests in assaults, which then resulted in bans for players deemed to be exploiting because they opened the infinitely respawning chests, which then resulted in the bans being reversed hours later, when Blizz realized, you know, this one was probably on them. All absolutely infuriating for sure. But, as was pointed out on the forums, the kind of thing that used to be par for the course on patch day. And honestly, doesn't the fact that we can feel so inconvenienced by them now just prove how good we have at these? No, it was a shit show, obviously.
Oh, Blizz, how'd 8.3 launch in this state? Blizzard programmers, you are worse than Windows ME programmers! Rip Fun, born November 23rd, 2004, died January 14, 2020.
So, why was 8.3 so much more noticeably buggy than any new WoW update since the Warlords of Draenor launch? Is it because there's no one at Blizz who works in QA anymore? Because QA is actually banned at Blizz now, to the extent that if anyone suspects you of doing any QA work, you can be instantly fired on the spot? It could be that. It could also have something to do with the new auction house, which finally got the update the player base has been crying out for over a decade. With sweet functionality and much more intuitive UI, why did this update take so long? Well, in previous Q&As, devs have said that everyone in the team is too scared to touch the auction house, because every time they try, it breaks the whole game. And the evidence of this week would certainly suggest they weren't lying. But whether or not the auction house is to blame for everything wrong in 8.3, it's probably fair to blame it for the missing gold, as countless players have reported not receiving the balance due them from sales they made. The reason there was no Longboy watch this week is because Tally is still waiting for around 200,000 gold from Flask and Veil wild crystal sales, and as bugs go, that's a doozy, especially as in-game gold arguably has a real-world value now, since the introduction of the WoW token. Blizz have promised that they have a record of every sale, and that everyone will eventually receive their gold. That's reassuring, even if it does give us the sorry sight of Tally logging into his bank vault every morning to do the world's saddest mailbox check to see if his gold has arrived yet. It hasn't arrived yet. But hey, at least we can all agree that the new auction house is great though, apart from the whole gold eating thing, right?
This art is trash! Go back, go original. Anything they can ruin, they will ruin. Blizz logic, if it's not broke, rehaul it and make customers unhappy and take all their monies.
Okay, well, it looks like it's time to spin the 8.3 wheel of news again. I hope we land on some better news this time.
Okay, relax. We've had the maintenance, we've had the initial big round of bugs, that's mostly been sorted now. Still waiting for my gold, but you know. How about we talk about the actual content of the patch itself? And how about we start with the opening quests, our introduction to Visions of N'zoth and what exactly is going on here. Because aside from the awesome new cinematic with punching Anduin and smirky Rathian and massive beautiful N'zoth, awesome cinematics being something that we're used to and kind of expect, we also got a huge slab of introductory story questing to do too, which is maybe something that we've come to expect a little bit less. There was no mucking around here. First time through without knowing what you were doing, it could easily take you 3 hours to complete this stuff, and it's good story too. Taking in Uldum and the Vale, and Rathian and Raden flirting with Mother, and N'zoth assaulting the Chamber of the Heart. It was chock full of really good voice acting and in-game cutscenes. It set up the events of the raid and the final battle with N'zoth incredibly effectively. The entire experience counts as a massive win for me and everyone else, especially on the forums, where people were thrilled to be getting such a substantial amount of content to be getting their teeth into, and were grateful for the chance to down some good old-fashioned questing, and no, it was a shit show, obviously. That intro quest line is brutal. What a waste of dev time. Just unlock the content from the get-go. Don't gate it behind a 2-hour-long quest line. Uldum as intro quest requirement should die in righteous holy fire. My god, it never ends. Make it end! Now look, I try not to flat out disagree with the comments that we use on this show, but I'm warning you now, I'm going to find it very difficult to find any common ground with you if you think there's too much story content here. I know that for a lot of people the concern is that it makes the beginning of 8.3 very alt unfriendly, that you have to take other characters through hours of questing before you can get stuck into the assault and vision system and begin to keep them up to date. But I played an alt through this stuff this week, and I'm going to have to disagree with that too, with the exception of having to find the Mogu diary, Rathian's cloak acquisition scenario, and that effing cool bit with N'zoth in the Heart Chamber. All the other story in the intro quests is totally skippable by talking to usually Magni and saying, I've heard this story before, with the only other content you're playing being assaults and visions, and by the way, getting around 10 times as much currency for it than if you just jumped straight in. Granted, there's a lot of flying around. Yes, Rathian's cloak scenario gets old very quickly. Yes, it would be a lot more convenient if Magni could maybe drop a port once in a while instead of all this, oh, I'll meet you there, champion, and then zapping out like the world's dickiest mage. But otherwise, this is all stuff that you'd be wanting to do on your alt anyway to get the rewards. Only the intro versions have better rewards. Anyway, I am done with all this negativity. Let's hope the 8.3 wheel of news lands on something a bit less controversial this time.
Yes, as has become traditional at this time of year, and indeed, with the launch of a new patch, Blizzard this week launched a new store mount to celebrate the Chinese New Year. I don't know if you heard, but Blizz have loads of friends in China. And it being the year of the rat, say hello to Squeakers, the adorable flying rat. In this country, we usually call them pigeons, but come on, even the most hardened soul would melt in the face of this adorable little fluffy boy. It's available on the store for the usual $25 or your regional equivalent, and also comes free with a recurring 6-month subscription. And as usual, that is retrospective. So anyone who keeps up a recurring 6-month subscription, like me, gets this little mouse in the mail just by being here. Especially nice for Tally, since it's the only thing his bank out has got in the mail for the last few days. He still hasn't got his gold back. It's so sad. And we all love free stuff, right? Well, the forums certainly do, which were full of surprise and delight like it was Christmas morning, as happy players awoke to find that, yes, Ian had been and left them with a beautiful... No, it was a shit show, obviously.
2020 is the year of the Activision. Oh, sorry, I meant rat. Oh well, they're the same thing. I applaud Blizzard for going steadily to become Asian MMO. Soon we will get unlockable character slots. The mount store is the WoW equivalent of erectile dysfunction.
What? Like, only occurs in men? Can often be overcome with a change in diet or medication? Is more common in the over 60s? Something you have to pay to get? I'm really not sure this one has been properly thought through. And you know how we feel about the mount store. It shouldn't exist in a game I pay a sub and buy expansions for. It's wrong. But at the same time, it doesn't affect my gameplay experience, so it's hard to get too worked up. And look, I know you hate it when people say you can buy the mount with gold, but you can. And it's kind of a relevant point to make right now, at a time when half the player base is currently working towards earning the much more gold they need to buy the long boy. But I don't care. I got him free and he's awesome. Squeakers, would you care to spin the wheel again? Oh, he can't. His little arms are too small. Come on, little fella, let's spin it together.
Of course, once the questing is all done and dusted, then the main gameplay loop of 8.3 begins to make itself apparent, with the ultimate aim of leveling up your legendary cloak. The main way of getting the coalescing visions is, of course, the weekly and bi-weekly assault missions and the daily lesser visions, which, if you've been playing, you'll have noticed by now really is a whole lot more simple than it sounds, just like I promised you. I mean, I know, even explaining it just then sounded really complicated, but I was right, wasn't I? It's not. The assault zones look great, alternating between one being all purple and tentacly and N'Zothy one week, that's the Vale in this first instance, while the other is considerably less tentacly and instead rotates through a couple of different themed questing areas. So Uldum started with the Amethyst stuff for the first days, and then switched to the Alakir stuff for the second half of the week, which was really cool, especially this first time where each different setup also has some nice new story quests to go with it. I've had fun, partly because I didn't play much in Kata, so Uldum feels like an entirely new zone to me. I like the return of the blue dailies as a change from the world quests that we're all used to by now. I like how seriously properly stupid everyone who complained about the worm from beyond in the PTR must feel right now. And for the time being at least, I like the more open way of getting stuff done. And those were attitudes that were echoed on the forums where players were, no, it was a shit show, obviously. What a horrible disappointment of a patch. Boring, annoying, tedious quests and dailies. There's plenty of brand new content like flying around in circles and searching for rare mobs. Just so tired. Dailies, what else is there to say? So from what I've seen on the forums and from having conversations with other people online, I think there's a bit of confusion about the role of dailies in 8.3, and I don't blame players for that confusion. We have been so conditioned into needing to complete everything on the map to keep up to date with our characters, but in Visions of N'Zoth, Blizzard have given us something that we've actually been asking for a while: non-mandatory content. Because to keep your main, but certainly your alts, up to date with their cloak progression, you only really need to make sure that you're doing your weekly and bi-weekly assaults and your daily lesser vision. Those are where, like, seriously 90% of your coalescing visions will come from. The dailies, they're purely optional for you if you want to do more. And to play absolutely optimally, you absolutely should complete them, but you need 10,000 coalescing visions to enter a horrific vision. Each daily gives you 50, which is 0.5% of a horrific visions ticket. So if you complete every daily on both maps every day, you'll get into one extra horrific vision a month, which you don't even need to keep up to date. That also means that if there's one daily that you just can't stand, or if you do like it but it's just too time consuming, like, oh, I don't know, just off the top of my head, killing the rares in the Vale or the Writ of the Sun whatever in Uldum, you can skip it forever. And someone who does do it every single day will get into one more horrific vision than you every 7 months. There is a reason that the dailies in each zone usually consist of a couple of relatively quick ones, like smashing obelisks, and then a couple of much more time-consuming ones for the same rewards, like the rares or the writs. It's because it's set up to be diminishing returns. It's purely optional. And you might well say, well, Taliesin, excusing boring, shitty quests with you don't have to do them is not a perfect solution. But that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you don't have to feel any pressure to get those dailies done to stay up to date with your character progress. And once you realise that you don't have to do the rares, you might find that flying around looking for rares for 30 minutes is actually a lot more fun. I know I did. I hated that quest at first because I was still in the mindset of 8.2, thinking, oh man, I have to do this to not fall behind, and it's taking such a long time. What a waste of time. But then I did the maths, realised it doesn't really matter if I don't have time to do it because it doesn't affect my progress at all. It's because I've done everything else, I've got 30 minutes to kill, and I just want something to do. So I enjoy that quest a whole lot more because there's no pressure to get it done. In fact, in that situation, I quite like that it takes so long to complete. I like that about classic quests, and I like that about 8.3. And obviously there are other reasons to do the dailies, like reputation and crafting recipes, but I'm focusing on coalescing visions and horrific visions because I know that it's the thought of falling behind with horrific visions and legendary cloak progress which is really stressing people out right now. And the dailies should not be a part of that stress. Getting bugged out of a vision halfway through or getting stuck in combat and failing because you can't use an orb, that's what you should be worrying about, not the dailies. Because there's this idea that if you fail a vision and don't upgrade your cloak, that you have fallen behind in a way that means that you cannot catch up again. Dead, which means no cloak upgrade, which means my warrior is now behind on gearing permanently, which makes them useless until Shadowlands. Thanks for the buggy mess of a game, Blizzard. And that mistake is understandable too, because that's how it appeared on the PTR for a long time before Blizz clarified that after this first week where it's possible to get your cloak to level 6 maximum, the quests to upgrade it further will only arrive 1 per week. And since you can very easily enter at least 2 horrific visions a week, you can very easily catch up should you fail a few at any time. So all in all, my thoughts with assaults and visions, the general day-to-day of 8.3, is that I've been pleasantly surprised by the way the assaults switch up, but my concerns are much the same as they were before the patch went live. I'm concerned that even with the raid and Mythic Plus and more interesting and meaningful gear drops that will come next week, there's still not quite enough here to hold the intention for a whole patch. And that's a whole normal patch, let alone the likely very extended final patch of the expansion. There are mounts and cosmetics to collect in these zones, but nowhere near the level of Ny'alotha or Mechagnome, and irrespective of how easy it is to catch up on cloak progress, there's no doubt it would be a whole lot more fun to be able to enter more visions, I think. Oh, and one more thought on this. I cannot wait for the point where people start saving up enough mementos to begin buying cosmetics from Rathian, and we get the tiny backpack shit show. Whew, that was a long one, wasn't it? Let's spin the wheel again and see where we end up. Yeah, Ian said in an interview that currently there are no plans to have a proper 8.3.5 patch to wrap up BFA, which means that as far as real content goes, VisionsofN'zoth and the Ny'alotha raid is going to have to hold until the Shadowlands pre-patch. But that's okay though, right? Because as we've just established, everybody really loves 8.3 and will have absolutely no problem in, no, it was a shit show, obviously. Oh shit, that's all there is for a year? Well, I hope you like this trash, plebs, because those are the only scraps you're getting. I'm not angry, Ian. I'm just disappointed. And that's not entirely unfair. I just said myself, I don't know if this content would really hold up for an entire normal patch, let alone till Shadowlands, which many people are predicting will launch as late as December. I'm not so sure. The legendary cloak in 8.3 goes up to level 15, but the corruption resistance on it is set to increase until mid-September, making that a pretty likely release candidate for a pre-patch, you'd have thought. And also, frankly, the best case scenario 9 months from now. I guess we'll have a more accurate guess when the Shadowlands Alpha hits, but it sure is looking like a long old ride for 8.3, and people were worried N'zoth was being dealt with too quickly. Let's hope we get something very nice on our final spin.
At last, thank goodness! Something we can at least all agree on is how cool the new glowing eye effects are on, and no, it was a shit show, obviously.
Whatever happened to my Nightborn? New eye glow looks bad!
Okay, fine. I give up. 8.3 is officially the worst patch ever. The internet has spoken. Maybe the start of Season 4 next week can help pick things up a bit. With the loot eye level hike, the start of the new Mythic dungeon affix, Corrupted, the new PvP season, new profession crafts, and of course the Ny'alotha raid on Heroic and Normal, which means the Ny'alotha ending cinematic.
Okay, Evitel, prediction time. ending cinematic for the Ny'alotha raid, which we'll definitely see next week because we'll clear all of Heroic in one go and become the world first for guilds with a name a bit like Immortalis.
Pretty much.
What's going to happen in that ending cinematic?
We're going to defeat N'zoth, and then Sylvanas is going to step in.
That's what you think, is it?
This is my...
You don't think Sylvanas might be a bit busy?
I think she is busy.
You might not think she might be heading for the old Ice Crown right now.
We might have some like flash... Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think's going to happen?
Oh, well, I'm glad you asked. I think, okay, spoiler but warning, I think the end cinematic is going to be Rathian jumping in and kill stealing by doing the stabby on N'zoth with the Blade of the Black Empire with Ny'alotha.
Nice.
That's what I think. And then we'll be all like, hey Rathian, well done, thanks for saving us from N'zoth with the Blade of the Black Empire. Maybe N'zoth will be inside it? That'd be really cool, because
Could be.
and we'll go, we should probably take hold of that, and he'll be like, no, it's alright, I got it.
Yeah.
Or maybe, that's if he just kills N'zoth straight out with it, but then maybe he'll put it on display somewhere, like really, really safe, you know, in Karazhan or something, or somewhere else, and they'll be like, we will keep it here, really, really safe, where no one can get it and release the old god that's inside.
Yeah.
No one will ever be able to do that. Maybe they'll put it in some super safe green snot like they did with Illidan. Totally impregnable. And I reckon, putting it somewhere super safe. Like, there you go. Ignore those whispers, everyone. Don't do what it whispers you to do. Don't tell them. And then I guess that'd be the end of my Gift of N'zoth as well.
Oh.
Which is working now, by the way. Anywhere you go, you're wearing your Gift of N'zoth, like you're supposed to be. And I haven't noticed any like special whispers or anything that you get.
Okay.
Some people have said that you get some special ones in like the intro scenario and thing like that, but I think those are for everyone. I don't know. Maybe the odd special whisper here and there, and maybe in the Ny'alotha raid as well. I guess we'll wait and see. I know. I'd be very excited to find that one out, because I love my Gift of N'zoth, and the thing I want to do this week, my main thing, even more than beating the raid, even more than upgrading my legendary cloak, the thing I want is to get the Servant of N'zoth title.
Ooh, that's a tricky one.
It's a really tricky one, because you have to kill, you have to become an assassin, so you have to kill like random number of Horde or Alliance, depending on who you are, to do that. But then you have to kill like 10 of your own faction once you have the buff.
I will willingly give myself as a sacrifice. I think our guild will just kind of coordinate.
What, just line up?
Well, yeah, if someone like if someone gets it, and if someone wants it, then it's just you sacrifice.
You should go and play more. You should play 8.3.
I know.
You should go and play more 8.3. You haven't even got your legendary cloak yet.
We're running out of space on this couch.
You're going to fall behind. I know. Look how almost out of this picture I am. You're going to fall behind in your legendary cloak if you're not careful.
Shush.
And honestly, how can you expect our child to be proud of their mother without a fully upgraded legendary cloak?
I know.
You're asking a lot of our child.
I know.
You'll be so... Mum, just drop me off around the corner. You haven't even got a fully upgraded legendary cloak. I hate you. It's so embarrassing. I hope you enjoyed this episode, though. If you did like it, don't thank us. Thank our patrons who give their actual, real-life money to make all of our videos happen. And guys, without you, there would be a whole lot less Taliesin and Evitel, so thank you. If you didn't like it, downvote the shit out of it. Remember, my name is Automatic Jack.
Aww.
Been watching the guides for the raid, haven't I?
Yeah.
Been watching the guides.
You'd be much taller if you were Automatic Jack.
I would. He's like a foot taller than me.
That's how I know you're not him.
Until next time, from me, Taliesin.
And me, Evitel.
Cheerio.